The medieval period, or the Middle Ages, refers to the period in European history from the collapse of Roman civilization in the 5th century to the period of the Renaissance. In this video, we will be looking at some strange facts about the medieval period that you probably didn't know. Number 1. In early medieval England, eels were used as a form of currency. Landlords would accept in-kind payments such as corn, ale, spices, eggs, but above all, eels. Eels accounted for 25 to 50% of fish in England's rivers. They were caught using nets, wicker traps, and in mill dams. 25 eels were known as a stick, whilst 10 eels were called a bind. By the end of the 11th century, over 540,000 eels were being used as currency each year. Number 2. Animals could be tried and convicted of crimes. Medieval animal trials took place in which animals were sentenced for harming persons or property. Domestic animals such as horses, pigs, and bulls could be charged for killing humans and would ultimately be sentenced to death, usually by hanging. For example, in 1457 in Savigny, France, a pig and her piglets were put on trial for the murder of a 5-year-old. The 6 piglets escaped death as no one could prove that they participated in the crime, but the pig was sentenced to death by hanging. The owner of the pig, who was originally the defendant, was able to escape punishment. Number 3. Speaking of pigs, the Middle English term pig referred to a type of clay in which plates and pots were made. During medieval times, metal was expensive, so people stored their money in pots forged from the orange-coloured pig clay. By the 18th century, they became known as pig banks or piggy banks. As both words sounded the same, English potters would shape the clay pots like pigs, and this soon became a trend. Over the next few hundred years, people would forget that pig actually referred to the material in which they were originally made from. Number 4. Surnames weren't widely used until after the Norman conquest of 1066. As the country's population increased, it became necessary to distinguish between people who had the same first names. Therefore, in medieval times, names would include a description of the person or their profession. Common surnames such as Smith, Knight, Cook, Squire, Taylor, and Turner are all based around medieval trades or occupations, while some surnames derive from personal traits or looks, such as Armstrong, Swift, and Short. Surnames were fluid and changed over time, or as a person changed his job. For example, John Blacksmith might become John Farrier as his trade developed. However, this system evolved so that people would take the same last name as their father. Number 5. Cruentation was one of the medieval methods of finding out who was responsible for murder. For this, they would place the suspect in contact with the corpse of their alleged victim. If the corpse bled, it proved the suspect's guilt. Cruentation was legally practiced and used as late as the 17th century. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you next week for another video.